Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karvavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu Ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om. Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. So we are at verse 39 of chapter 10 of Bhagavad Gita. And last time we did verse 38, and the English translation was, among punishers, I am the scepter. That means like a danda, authority. Among those who seek victory, I am statesmanship. So that statesmanship is niti, they call it in Sanskrit. Good policy, that's what it means. Healthy policy. And also among secrets, I am silence. So we saw that this was a very deep one. And then and I am the knowledge among the knowers. And they talked about Brahma Vidya. And any kind of knowledge is grace of God only. But we saw all that last time. So we'll move forward with verse 39. Yachapi sarva bhutanam bijam tadaham arjuna na tadasti vina yasyat maya bhutam characharam. He's concluding now. Yata, which, cha is and, api also, sarva bhutanam. So by this time we all know when they say bhoot over here, it's not bhoot pret, it's all the beings. So among all beings, sarva bhutanam. Bijam, this is the most important word over here, seed, and we'll see what it means. Tada, that. Aham, I. So I am that seed among all beings. Arjuna, of course, he's addressing Arjun. Through Arjun, all of us. Na is not. Tat is that. Asti is. Vina, without. Yat, which. Syat, maybe. Maya, by me. Bhutam, being. Characharam. These words are used in Sanskrit language in the Vedanta a lot. It's called moving or unmoving. Just classifying the whole universe kind of thing in one way. Sometimes there's sentient and unsentient, and sometimes, or insentient, alive and, jada they call it in Sanskrit. But here is a moving and unmoving, and just another classification, we'll see. So basically he's saying none can exist. Moving or unmoving things cannot exist without me. That's what he's saying. So we'll go more deep into the meaning now. So as I said, now last couple of verses he's concluding the whole thing. I think he's exhaustively in 38 verses told so many. In each shloka there were 4 of them, many places, his vibhutis, and we went so much in detail. We had a lot of fun with it. And now Bhagavan is saying that understand, Arjuna, that whatever you see the beings in the whole universe, I am the seed. That's what he's saying. So what does he mean by seed? We know that we have these seeds from which the trees and plants come. And of course, the analogy has been taken from there. But there's a lot more depth to it. He's saying he's a very source, very core, and he's a very seed from which all are born. So, scientifically, yes, mother and father's essence is there and all that. But uske piche kya hai? Bhagwan ka seed hi hai. So that's like, so the way Nikhilananji was explaining about the seed, that, just like we have the seed that, there is a seed that gives birth to the tree. So here Bhagwan is saying, I am the seed of all beings. But the difference between the seed and the tree and him is that this is indestructible seed. And there are a couple of other verses where Bhagwan has actually used the word indestructible seed, and we'll come to that also. Usually Krishna Bhagwan says the same idea many different times so that it just sinks into us. But here, because he's summarizing, but he's already mentioned the seed before, and we'll see how. So when he said indestructible seed, that means life cannot get destroyed. The form can get transformed into something else. You can say form gets destroyed, or you can say it gets transformed, whichever language you like better. So the expression of life in a particular planet also may get finished, because we know that scientifically speaking, our Earth also has a limited time, from our perspective, billions of years and all that, but overall the scientists will say one day Earth will disappear too. So that way the expression of life will go away from here, but life as such does not get destroyed, because the seed does not get destroyed. It's always there. And when we come to Swamiji's commentary, he has taken the highest approach to explain. And we will see a lot of science is there in how he explained, but the other points are there too. So that's why when the seed is there, it can give birth somewhere else, in some other form and all that. And we know that scientists are trying so hard to find life on other planets. So distance is so far, we don't know, but hope they find it, because beej is there everywhere. So that's what it is. And then we have discussed this also, that beej, when you talk about a beej, it looks so ordinary, something very small. We even throw it away here, there, and all that. But what Nikhilananji was saying, it's packed with intelligence. Such a small material, and it's just a matter, actually, right? The physical part of the seed is a matter, but there is a superb intelligence in it. What intelligence? To create a tree, obviously. And if you think about it, if we kind of churn upon it or meditate upon what it is, that where does it get the material? It is programmed in such a way, wherever the seed you put in the ground, it will suck the material from there. It doesn't have to go to Home Depot or anything. जहाँ भी है, क्या मतलब है, इंटेलिजेंस की भी अमेजिंग चीज़ है, राइट? मटीरियल को भी वहीं से लेके थोड़ा सा पानी वानी दे दिया, सूरज की रोशनी तो होती है, and even if you don't give खाद or anything, still the tree will come out. If you want something healthier, then you got to nurture it a little more. But जो भी पड़ा है सामान जमीन में, उसको खींच वींच के मिलू के इतना बड़ा ट्री, और ट्री भी कोई ऑर्डिनरी नहीं होता है उसका ट्री. Branches and leaves and flowers and fruit, and what a marvelous thing. And it doesn't end there. So if you want to meditate more upon it, that how does it know that it can create a tree? It can even create another seed. Each tree can create thousands of other seeds, and these seeds are not like weak or anything. They can produce another tree. They're as strong. And if you think about it, all the trees and flowers and plants and food plants and दिखने में सुंदर दिखने वाले plants and all that, we have not created them. And God knows from how many millions of years they have been coming, and no contamination has happened. That gulab still looks like a gulab only. And the fruits and all, they look like, sometimes they try to mess it up by doing their own science. But I've heard, jo bhi kuch, if they do some kind of gadbad in their seed and all, the fruit never tastes that good then anymore. Something they do gadbad, I don't know. So whatever nature does is just tremendous. So that's a great wonder, he was saying. I thought that was such an amazing point that he brought up. So, he's just saying that, okay, I am that seed for everyone. Here we are just giving the example of this seed, and then few other things about the seed, that this is the ultimate seed or source from which all beings come. So just like a seed contains a potential for the entire tree, Krishna is saying he's the cause and sustainer of the entire universe, right? And then the two verses I was talking about, or where it comes, other parts of Gita, the same word seed. We have already done chapter 7 and chapter 9. So in chapter 7, in verse 10, anybody who is interested can go back. Bhagavan said, Bijam ma sarva bhutanam vidhi parva sanatanam. So he said, Bijam ma, I am the seed. What kind of seed? Sanatanam. Eternal seed of all beings. So he already mentioned that. He's just summarizing it over here again. That was one place it came. Second place it came was that chapter 9, verse 18, that was a very meditative verse. I know I'm kind of reviewing some of the previous things, so there is a connection and we don't forget. So that verse was a beautiful verse and it had a lot of words in it, but usme beej bhi tha. The verse was Gatir Bharta Prabhu Sakshi Nivasa Sharanam Sruhud Prabhava Pralaya Sthanam Nidhanam Bijam Avyayam. That was it. Bijam Avyayam, meaning the imperishable seed. I am the imperishable seed. So here he didn't mention that, but we have to, because he mentioned it twice already, the eternal seed and the imperishable seed, we have to just take that as a main thing. So that was another very important point that I wanted to bring. That when he's talking about seed, it is eternal. And then Bhagwan actually says something more in the second line. And Swamiji has some explanation when we read his commentary. He says that there is nothing in this world, moving or unmoving, chara charam, char or achar. You know, you can say sentient or insentient if you want to, whichever word you like, and chara charam, which is devoid of me, which is without me. I am there in everyone. So we sometimes say only in the living being. No, he's there in non-living beings also. From our perspective, the division is there. So this is what Bhagwan has revealed about himself. And Nikhilanandji brought very important point. He's saying this: we should teach these kind of things to ourselves, other people, our children, all of them, whoever we can, because what is Bhagwan? This is the meaning of Bhagwan. You know, who is in everything and how he is in everything. Because he said, if we have some funny ideas about God and all that, and before even the class started, we were having some little discussion, and Joe was saying that how in Hare Krishna mantra, you know, some people argue that Hare Ram should come first or Hare Krishna should come first. I said, Had ho gayi, Baba. Whatever you like, you say. Nobody's going to get offended over there, you know, whichever way. Usually Hare Krishna, they will start with Hare Krishna and maybe in the Ram Mandir, I don't know. But, you know, it does not matter because it's coming from the same source. You know, so he was just saying that we have such funny ideas about who God is. And because of all the rituals and other things, we have created confusion in ourselves, in our mind. And then when people talk about God, they will talk about everything else but what really God is. You know, so that's what is happening. And like so many fear and confusion they will create, you know. He's saying, no, to go back to these verses. Bhagwan is what he said in Bhagavad Gita. And this is one of the very important things he said over here. So he's saying that once you know this, you know that you don't have to go to a special place to see the God. Because if he's saying, I'm in everything, whichever form you like, you can worship over there. And he's saying, and then he gave a great example. It's like saying that I want to see Akash or space and I want to go somewhere to see it. Hello, it's right here where you are. Just, if you want to see above, just open the curtain. Same space is there, whether you're North Pole, South Pole, or India or US, or actually you don't even the space. You don't even have to see. It's there within you. You know. So that's what I thought was a great example he gave. So when he said nothing moving or non-moving that is devoid of me, so we'll go a little more deep into what it is saying. So there is in Chandogya Upanishad, which we haven't done yet, there is one very famous saying, Sarva Khalu Idam Brahma. It means all this indeed is Brahman. Ye Sarva Brahma hai. एक भजन भी है बहुत सुंदर, you know, ये सर्व सत्य है, ये सर्व ब्रह्म है, so like that. And in Ramayana, we have famous verse, Siya Ram Mai Sab Jag Jani. There, the devotion is to a Ram. So he's saying that Ram is that Brahman, representative of Brahman. So he's everywhere. Siya Ram. So whichever way you want to put, but this statement over here, in this verse, aligns with all these things, you know. And then when we want to divide char and achar, you can say that char, moving people are humans, animals, birds, insects, all those things are moving. And non-moving You can be plants and trees and animals and all that, because they actually don't have legs, they don't move. So you can say achar is that kind of classification. Or sentient and unsentient, may the plants go on the sentient side. Doesn't matter. It's just one way of classifying. So there should be no confusion. You can pick either one. So in English, we will say that Bhagwan is saying that there's nothing, whether mobile or immobile, that exists apart from him. So this highlights the all pervasiveness, because we have heard the all pervasiveness so many times now. And a few of the people, they made some statements like Shankaracharya ji in Advaita Vedanta. Seed here means the ultimate cause. Karana, jisko bolte hain in Sanskrit mein, that is Brahman. Anadi Karan actually bolte hain usko. जिसकी कोई बिगनिंग नहीं होती है, वो वाला कारण. Everything arises from him, depends on him, and nothing can exist independently. That's the statement he made. And then there are two words that we might come across in Vedanta. You may already know it. One is called Nimitta Karan and one is Upadan Karan. So how do we translate that? Efficient cause and material cause. And we have discussed that. You need efficient cause is like an intelligent cause. To create something, you need intelligence. Even to go cook in the kitchen and make some khana, we need some intelligence and some skills, right? Here is talking about making a whole universe. So intelligent cause is Bhagwan, Nimitta Karan, and Upadan means material cause. To create anything, you need a material. Both are Bhagwan only. That's why I said he is the Bij. Because in the world, if we want to create something, we have to go find the material, some shop or some earth or somewhere. Here, Bhagwan from himself has created the whole world. Just like a spider creates the web from his own body. Like that we have to see. So that is called Nimitta Karan, Upadan Karan, efficient cause, material cause. And the seed over here is not a physical seed, but universal cause that we understood. And what did Madhusudan Saraswati ji said, because he goes in the devotional angle, that he's the cause without being caused. So it's saying causeless cause. That's what Swami ji says. Har ek cheez ka cause hota hai, but Bhagwan is a causeless cause. That's how you have to see it. And then uncaused, independent, self-existent. That's the word, another word, that we use for that. And Ramanuja and Madhvacharya ji, they also say that another angle is that Bij he's talking about is a power of creation that imparted by Lord. So when we also create something, that seed of creation has come from there. That's a philosophical way of looking. Any kind of talent we have, anything we have, we might be thinking in our arrogance, oh, I have this, that. No. The Bij is coming from Bhagwan. So we have to look at it that way. And then all beings are dependent on him for their origination and sustenance. So that's what when he talked about the Bij and nobody can exist without me, those are the 2 points he's telling us over there. So these are the things we are pulling out from this verse. And then the other comments on this verse was, because he's concluding now that this particular verse, now he's in verse 41, he's going to say something, and this one is like an adhar for next verse. And in next verse, he's going to say anything, that is, what does it say? Anything which is glorious, let's see, glorious, and anything that is beautiful, that is me only. Where is it? Yeah, 41 is like comes after, first going to be 40, then 41. Whatever that is glorious, prosperous, and powerful in any being, then know that to be manifestation of my splendor. So this one, because he's in everything, this supports it. So I thought that was an interesting thing that somebody said. And then few other small things. Just in summarizing what it is, 3 things is telling in summary. That Krishna is the eternal seed of all being. All existent, moving and non-moving depend on him. And nothing exists apart from him. So those are 3 things we take from there. And each teaches us cosmic dependence. And, gives a devotional angle also in this verse. And then we have heard about the two words that I had talked about earlier. God is eminent and transcendental. Both are mentioned here because I am the seed means I am eminent. Transcendental means without me nothing can exist. So that's what it's a declaration of non-duality over here. We cannot be separate from him. We have to have God in with us, otherwise we cannot exist. So whatever appears as plurality, whatever we see so much differences everybody in the whole universe, in people and things and countries, you name it, that essence is that infinite consciousness. So it teaches us that oneness. It inspires us to look beyond superficial differences that we see and recognize that unity, which is underlaying the diversity. Like there's a famous saying, no, unity in diversity. Especially in India, they say that a lot because we are so many languages, so many people. Still, we all have like some connection. The moment somebody's Indian, oh wow, we connect to it immediately because of that oneness we go to. So it's, somebody mentioned that this mantra is, besides being philosophical, very meditative mantra. So if anybody looking for some thing to hang on in meditation, this is a beautiful mantra to hang on to. So this is what all the different points. Any question or comment about the bijam and about char achar? Yes, Sheila ji.
To me, it's like the explanation. जैसे भगवान जी का स्वरूप क्या है? Is the part of explanation of that.
Yeah, I mean, you can.
मुझे ऐसे ही लगा.
Yeah, नहीं बिल्कुल, because हम लोग वो एक ही स्वरूप में जब अटक जाते हैं ना, so this makes us expansive, and there is, the personal God has a lot of value in Vedanta also because it gives a lot of like connection of love and connection, things like that. But that teaches us to respect others also.
Respect others.
Yeah, and not thinking that one is higher, one is lower, nothing like that. Hey, I connect to this, but he's representing that whole Brahman for me. I can. That's what it is. Ha, bilkul. So it makes our mind very open-minded. Instead of start looking at differences and arguing and fighting, who comes first, who comes second. This will completely dissolve it. That's what it is. True, what you said. Yeah.
मुझे ये रामायण में एक चौपाई है, जैसी रही भावना जैसी तीन देखी मूरत ऐसी.
Yes.
तो जैसी आपकी भावना वैसी आपने देखा, तो स्वरूप उनका ऐसा ही है.
Bilkul. So, the best way to look at it is you understand the entire thing, and then if you want to hang on to one, it's totally fine. That's what it is. It's like Ramakrishna Paramhans, he was a complete jnani and all, but he loved that Kali Ma Swarup so much that he, till he was alive, he always worshipped, even though he knew, And then I'm told about Mirabai. I don't know if everybody knows the story of Mirabai, but they say that she was so attached to the Krishna's form that in the end, the guru, I don't remember the guru's name, he had to give her Brahma Gyan for her to release from that, kind of connection because it was just so strong, it was limiting her. So it seems that in the end, when उन्होंने अपने जब प्राण त्यागे, तो the story goes, वो कृष्ण की मूर्ति में समा गई and all that. But she got the moksha because the guru had to explain to her that don't hang on to just one in such a way, understand that God is in everything and all that. So we have to kind of go both ways, Any other comment, question? Okay.
Meeraji, are we thinking about God as a what do you say? Not non-form. It's not.
Like formless. Yeah.
Formless. Right. It's a concept. Not concept, but it's formless. So don't attach yourself to one particular idol, but just go with the pure consciousness and purity of mind.
So this is what it is. There is nothing wrong in being attached to what it's like, our family. We are attached to it. Doesn't mean that we don't respect the rest of the world. right? Because they are also somebody's family and all. So what they are trying to say is, it's like the seed, okay? When we look at the seed, it looks like a form is there, intelligence is there, but look at the eternity behind that. Even the worldly seed has that eternity thing, because it can create another seed and its cycle goes on. Same way, when we look at some form, and sometimes what happens with, if you get attached to form, there is a chance of being fanatic about it. That's what they don't want you. Because when we go, now Bhagwan is going to get more and more subtle in his, all the things that he's going to say. And when we come to, I think it's chapter 11, where there are those 36 chapter, which one is it? Whichever one, next one is going to come. Either 11 or 12. 12 mein hai. 36 values are there that, hey, you have to develop these good qualities if you want Gyan. And the first one starts is Advaishta Sarva Bhutanam. You cannot hate even one person. Like our teacher used to say, I love the whole world, but if you have that one but, you're finished. You're not going to get God. So that's what it is. That, hey, God, that's what they're trying to expand your vision. God is in everything. You can pick your favorite, no problem. You can worship a particular deity, but know that Bhagwan is the seed of the entire universe. He is in everything, non-moving, moving, and he is the imperishable seed of everything. That's
उमा जी शायद इसीलिए भगवान के इतने अवतार भी दिखाए कि you can worship. सभी एक से ही आए हैं, but there are different versions of.
It's like people get so confused about the avatars, and how do we explain this concept to one child that, hey, why there are so many forms? Because Hinduism has been accused of many gods, and it's like, hello, there is one God. The whole Vedanta is screaming that. So what does it mean? It means it has many forms. Abhi aap hain, Asha ji. How many roles you play? You are a wife, you are a mother, you are a professor, and if you play a sport, you are a sports person. One person can have 20 different roles. Does that mean that you are different? No, when you are playing that role, that's what you're doing. So avatar is nothing but when there is a need, like for some reason for Bhagwan to actually come in physical form to fix something, that's what he does. And Bhagwan ने already chapter 4 में बता दिया है क्यों आते हैं वो, जो धर्म की हानि होती है उनको आना पड़ता है. And somebody said, अगर फैक्ट्री लगाई है कहीं दूर जाके, ओनर कभी ना कभी तो आएगा बूट पहन के देखने के लिए क्या कर रहे हैं लोग, गड़बड़ कर रहे हैं, उनको सीधा करने के लिए.
पर ओनर भी शक्ल बदल के आ सकता है.
बिल्कुल.
फाइंड आउट क्या होता है.
हाँ, ओनर को अगर कभी बहुत रुबाब दिखाना है तो he will come with lot of nice clothes and all. Otherwise he will come in incognito. He will put some mask and some sunglasses and come quietly and try to fix things.
Yeah.
True. So whatever happens at the universal level is happening on the earth also, and that's why these examples kind of make us understand. So when we say different forms, and then Swamiji used to say, in our religion, we don't have a fixed thing because people are different varieties. सबके minds different है. You may connect to सभी को बोलो, बैठ जाओ और आंखें बंद करके, you think आधे लोग भाग जाएंगे because they don't know how to do that. So you start with something else. Hey, do some other puja, connect somehow to God.
देखिए हमारे जैन दर्शन में तो अद्वैतवाद को भी बहुत इम्पोर्टेंस दी जाती है. Different ways of thinking.
Yeah.
About the same subject.
Right. So I think our culture, we are extremely lucky that it is a completely non-fanatic type of thing. There is no fixed rule. You can pray, once a day. You can choose the day. मंगलवार बुधवार हर एक का भगवान बना दिया. You want every day, you go every day. किसी को मंदिर जाना है वहां जाओ, नहीं तो घर में बैठ के करो. इतनी वैरायटी दे दी, मतलब किसी तरह से कनेक्ट तो हो. But that's all it is. There's nothing. So it's the way he says that when you have a buffet, people can choose what they want to eat. Nobody needs to be forced that everybody has to eat the same food. You give variety. So our Rishi Munis have given tremendous variety. But they have also hammered this idea. everything is coming from that spiritual center of Bhagwan. So that's all you have to remember. That's what they're saying over here.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, now reading part.
Okay.
Sheila ji? Okay, great.
Yes.
It is very long, so if you get tired, you can hand it out to somebody. It's your wish. Yeah, it's very long, huh?
Everybody can hear me?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. And whatsoever is the seed of all beings, that also I am. Am I? O Arjun, there is no being, whether moving or unmoving, that can exist without me. I am that which is the seed of all. In all above descriptive phrases indicating through analogies the nature, place, and function of the self, in the scheme of the in the scheme of the perceptible world of form, thought, and ideas. It was constantly suggested that the self is the source of all creation. In order to hammer this idea into the dull-witted so that no student of Gita might overlook and ignore this wonderful idea, which is the essence of knowledge, spiritual, Vyas again and again makes Krishna repeat this essential truth in 100 different suggestive expressions.
So you see, we are in chapter 10 now. It's already been said the same thing before. He's just repeating it. So Swamiji is also saying that this sentence, I am that which is the seed of all, this is indicating so many different ways this has been already told to us before, but he's again hammering the idea because he's saying that no student of Gita should ignore this statement. All pervasiveness, and he is the essence in everything. That's what he's saying. That's why he's repeating it over here.
The analogy of seed and the tree is inexhaustible theme for the meditators to contemplate upon. Under favorable conditions, the dormant life content in the seed can manifest itself, and it allows. The germinated seed can grow out into an inconceivable height, which may thereafter look as though it has no relationship with every seed from which it has sprung forth.
With the very
Very long sentence.
I know
One who is viewing only the finite world of polarity and mourning under the sledgehammer of change and constant death may not find in samsara anything to remind him of the divine, infinite or blissful as the source from which the samsara has burst forth to expression.
So long sentences. So this is what he's saying. He's saying that this example of this bead has so many facets to it. You can learn so many things from it. And one of the things about the seed is when you look at a seed of a particular tree or a plant, it doesn't look like anything like that plant. And what I've heard, we came from Houston. Houston, where they have big oak trees, huge, and they are beautiful looking and all that. But uska jo seed hai na, sabse chota hota hai, they say. And sometimes it's like avocado ka itna bada seed hai, but uska ped shayad itna bada nahi hota hoga. There are different sizes. So what we're trying to say that whatever the seed is, the tree it's totally different. That's one aspect. वैसे भी कोई भी seed ले लो. It's like कोई गुलाब का पौधे का seed हो समझो, हाँ? उसमें इतना खुशबू होती है गुलाब की, ना रंग होता है, ना कुछ भी नहीं होता है. लेकिन imagine what comes out of it. So he's just saying that when you look at the world, you say, oh, Bhagwan is saying I'm everywhere. मुझे तो भगवान नहीं दिखाई दे रहा है. सब ऐसे, when you hear the news, लगता है कि सारे सब लोग लड़ रहे हैं, मर रहे हैं, दुष्ट लोग हैं यहाँ वहाँ, like it's, what is going on? You say that, hey, what it is that the seed is there, the divinity is there. In the plurality, you may not see it. Just like in a seed, you don't see the tree. That's the analogy he's giving in this paragraph. So he's just stretching it in a different angle about that seed analogy. If you have any question after every paragraph, then you can, ask. Because it's a long one.
The seed condition of the universe is equivalent to the dormant condition of the tree before its manifestation among the two lobes of the dicotyledonous seed.
I also don't know how I don't know some scientific word. इसका meaning बता देती हूँ. What it is जब seed sprout होता है ना, तो वो दो भागों में बढ़ जाता है. It seems एक ऊपर जाता है और एक नीचे. ऊपर tree बन जाता है और नीचे जड़ बन जाता है. So उसको वो die means two. If somebody knows how to pronounce it, I also don't know how to pronounce this one.
Under favorable condition, of course, the primary shoot and the root system will emerge out, one ascending upward to the tree and the other burrowing down into the soil to be the roots. The entire universe of names and form in their condition of dormancy, remaining in seed form, is the state of pralaya, and convinced by and accepted in our Upanishads. The cosmic dissolution become intelligible to us when we notice it happening in ourselves. In the state of sleep, our individual temperamental chapter, capability, education, culture, decency, equity, and so on, all are lying in a condition of dormancy. In short, in sleep, our personality, peculiarity remain in a seed condition. When these vasanas, after an interval of restful poise, get impatient to express themselves, then they emerge out. And when the conditions are favorable, each of them manifests itself fully.
These are very long sentences too. So here, this is what he's trying to say over here. He's taking the example of the seed. So seed में potential tree है, right? It is that's how we have to say कि उससे tree बन सकता है, but अभी बना नहीं है. कभी बनेगा tree जब उसको हम favorable conditions में डालेंगे. Like when we put it under the soil, or soil भी सही होनी चाहिए. I didn't know this. I learned so much from Swamiji's commentary. Just like I learned that about this whatever seed. I had to look up, but and then I learned that it goes up and down. It was amazing. And then I learned कि जो plants वगैरह grow होते हैं ना, उसके लिए you need to have the मिट्टी exposed to sunlight, wind, and things like that. Otherwise, nothing can grow. So if you take a mitti which is more than 9 feet deep in the ground, suppose if you take that mitti out and you put it and directly put some seed in it, kuch nahi growega usme. It has to be, that mitti has to be exposed to the environment. So in the right conditions hona chahiye. And then of course you need water and sunlight. Because bole ke meko tree grow karna hai, and then you put something in a dark, it's not gonna grow. Conditions has to be right. Then what happens, that whatever potential is there in the tree, it starts expressing itself. So if you understand, that is very simple to understand, right? Same way that this whole universe, pralay means what? When हमने सभी ने सुना है word pralay, तो हम लोग कहते हैं सब कुछ खत्म हो जाता है. No, that's not true. सब कुछ नहीं खत्म, वो seed form में चला जाता है. It goes into a unmanifest form that we cannot see. तो कोई बोलेगा, how can that be possible? I have to see. तो किसी ने बोला कि it is like you take a cube of ice, okay, and then now I can see the ice, I can see the form, it has a shape and everything. Then I start heating it. When I heat it, it becomes, उसका shape चला जाता है, and it take liquid हो जाता है, takes the shape of whichever thing it is in a pot or something. So one form is gone, and then you keep heating it, what will happen to it? It will become vapors. Vashp ban jayega. Can I see that vashp? None of us can see. Does that mean that the water has disappeared? No. The scientists will say it's still there somewhere in this. That's what unmanifest was. So even in the world it happens. So they are saying, what Swamiji is explaining, that this example of beach, it also opens up this truth that in the pralay, the entire sansar goes in the beach form, and then when the right conditions happen, you can say, now the Atriya Upanishad is going to talk about it, that ब्राह्मण के मन में इच्छा जागेगी, now I should, अब ये लोग बहुत सोली है, चलो इनको जगाते हैं. Rest time is over. Start working. Put your boots on. You will start that's what it is. So it is, you understood this example?
Yes, very good example.
Yeah. Meena ji.
Yeah, you could also say of the deep sleep, right?
Absolutely. He's going to talk about that. Yes.
Yeah.
He was saying that pralay happens. That's what you're saying, right?
Right. That it goes in the form of seed. It's not everything of all your vastness and everything goes in the form
unmanifest
of a seed.
form. Because when we are in deep sleep, we are not doing any action. And कितना भी pain हो, कितना भी दुख हो, कितना भी दर्द हो, deep sleep में कुछ पता नहीं चलता है. It's an unmanifest. Moment we wake up, everything comes crashing down.
Yes.
So exactly, see, true. Acha, I think that this long sentences, maybe somebody else can take it because it will be very exhaustive for you, Sheila ji.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Falguni ji, you can. Go ahead.
Okay, I can read. Okay. The restful state of the total mind and intellect, and therefore all of the vasanas in all of us in their condition of rest, would be the total pralay, and that time the whole universe merges back to become the seed. This is an illuminating example of the poetic way of expression used by all our ancient seers. This pregnant condition of the potential energy, which after time and under suitable circumstances will emerge out to express itself, it termed by the brilliant seers of Upanishads as the state of Hiranyagarbha. To translate the marvelous term as the golden egg is one of the blasphemies unconsciously committed by the Western translators, who have thereby outraged the beauty of our scriptures. The womb of all things and beings is all that is indicated by the term Hiranyagarbha.
So, you will see in Swamiji's commentary, so many times he has blasted the Western translators. I think these are more, which kind of translators who don't have like a guru, who are more academics and all that, and they just take some pure words and they try to translate, and then it makes a mess out of it. But I have seen that a lot of Western people who follow the Indian tradition of having a guru, they have a very good knowledge, just, like any other person. So here when he says this thing, he's commenting on those people. And sometimes, I have nothing against academics. So because, there are academicians sitting right here. So, I have to be careful but when it comes to Vedanta, we know that it's a subtle subject, right? So if you just take the word meaning, you can make a complete mess of it. So he's just saying that Hiranyagarbha जो word दिया है ना, उसको अगर English में translate करेंगे, Hiranya means सोने की जैसा, चमकने वाला, like gold. And Garbha means womb. We know that, so it's like, usko translate golden egg. So then people started making this picture of golden egg and all, is saying nothing like that. Okay, it is not that way. He's just saying a concept that everything goes into the seed form, and when that seed form is ready to burst out, in the beginning, it's a Hiranyagarbha. All that potential energy is there. It's just like a Big Bang theory. There's nothing different in it, So that potential is there. Usko Hiranyagarbha bola gaya. That's what he's saying. So don't translate into English and make a mess of it. That's what he was saying. Okay.
The Lord is here identifying himself with the total causal bodies of the world. meaning the total vasanas in all the creatures, and therefore as Ishvara, he declares that the self is the one great seed from which the tree of samsara has emerged and will in nature emerge out for an infinite number of times.
So now, this word is causal body is very important. It's not casual body, that we have to read it correctly. Causal means karan. Something has caused them. So these causal body are total vasanas. So basically what it is like our teacher used to explain, we said, no, why were we born? हमको तो नहीं आना था यहाँ पर सब दुख झेलने के लिए, ये वो नहीं, हमारी इच्छा थी हम ये एंजॉय करें, वो एंजॉय करें, तो भगवान ने gave us the field. It is our desires that's why we are here. भगवान को कोई शौक नहीं है हम लोग को. It's like, sometimes हमारे साथ भी ऐसा होता है ना, oh, I want to go do this, do that. हम बड़े excited हो जाते हैं, right? और जब जाते हैं तो बोलते हैं, God, why did I come here? Wasted my time, did all that. कभी कभी कुछ उल्टा सीधा भी हो जाता है, कार खराब हो जाएगी और something goes wrong into, we fall down or something, and we say, why did I come for this stupid vacation or something like that, you can say. But it was our desire that prompted us. So he just saying that सबकी desire को साथ में लेके उसको total वासना बोलते हैं. So this Ishvara is the one. He's a great seed because he gives us the field to go and exhaust our vasanas. That he gives us the field to go and play. That, okay, that's what he does. That's why he is considered the seed, because he makes it possible for us. But the vasanas are ours only. That's what he's trying to say over here.
By the statement that I am the
Sorry,
seed of the
Meena ji, you had a question?
I had a question, which is a very silly question.
No
But
question is silly.
no, it is. Hiranyagarbha is the total, total vasanas, right? How does each one, because we come back of the unfinished ones again take birth. But this total means it's not like separate things. It's not like separate vasanas. And how does total, which one takes?
How do they know? Record keeping, you are saying. No, record keeping, how do they do?
Yeah.
Okay, think about it this way. In the world also we have the complete system. Hey, there is one broadcast station, but so many people can get the radio because it knows which signal to catch. That could be one example. Another one could be electricity is coming from one source, but each one gets what they want. And we have to pay for it because there is a meter over there. So Bhagwan ne pura system lagaya hua hai. There is, whole thing is there, but they know how to separate it. And if you go to, I think, where does it come? In one of the Upanishads or somewhere, maybe even Bhagavad Gita, it came already or it's going to come, I don't remember now. There is a verse which says that when we die, our essence of all the things that we have done, जैसे वासना वर्ड कहाँ से आया? वास से आया. वास मीन्स गंध. जैसे वायु गंध को ले जाती है, ओके, वैसे ही हमारी जो सोल है ना, और subtle body takes that fragrance of our karmas with us. So there's attached to it. So,
but then they're all put together. I mean, it's one Hiranyagarbha.
Okay, this is in the world. This is what it is. You see all the cows and the bachadas, right? To us, they look the same. Hai ki nahi? They said that the cow knows which is the bachada. Okay, that's one example.
Yeah.
And even when I was watching a show about penguins, penguin का कुछ ऐसा होता है कि वो they leave their babies somewhere to grow, and maybe you guys also know.
Yeah, I've seen that.
And then after God knows such a year or something, they come back and they pick up the same baby.
Yeah.
अरे बाबा, यहाँ दुनिया में हो सकता है तो वो तो भगवान है. We don't know the system, but the subtle systems are very strong. They and then if you see, suppose if this is also is not connecting, भगवान ने already different लोगों को different job दिया हुआ है. There is one guy, यमराज का जो secretary है, हाँ, यमराज का secretary का नाम क्या है? मैं it's a very interesting name. The one who takes picture, Chitragupta.
The Chitragupta.
Chitragupta is the one mean जो secretly picture लेता है. वीडियो, हमारी पूरी वीडियो लाइब्रेरी है भाई, हमने क्या किया हुआ है. And then people who watch those shows, near death experience, when we are dying, it seems the entire life comes in front of you. You also, your subtle body knows कि किसको दुख दिया तुमने, किसको खुशी दी, किसके मन में क्या फीलिंग आई, वो सब का record इतना strong है. And then in the Western world, now they use the word Akashic records. Joe talks about it many times, that जो भी कुछ हमने काम किया है उसका बराबर record है. अभी iCloud है, मेरे को तो ये कॉन्सेप्ट ही समझ में नहीं आता. किड्स कीप टॉकिंग अबाउट यू हैव सो मच स्टोरेज इन iCloud. मुझे तो डर लगता है iCloud में कुछ भी स्टोर करने को, बिकॉज आई फील लाइक क्लाउड में चला गया, मेरे पास तो आएगा ही नहीं. बट दे आर नॉट स्केयर्ड, दिस न्यू जनरेशन. They will put all their important stuff on cloud because they know that they can retrieve it. If worldly sense में सकता है तो वहाँ तो 100 times, 1000 times more potency is there about these things. So this is my answer. I don't know if satisfied you.
No, it's okay. I mean, I'm just wondering, because how does it, everything, is into one that's big seed. How does it,
At the same thing, like, how does that little seed have this information about this humongous
whole
tree?
thing.
The other day I was
Yeah.
watching a show about huge trees. I didn't even know that there are trees standing on this earth for last 6,000 years. One tree. And these sequoia trees that we all are from California, they are 2,000 years old. Jesus was not even born at that time. They are standing since then. But it started from where?
Oh, no, that
One seed. Think about it.
Okay. Yeah, I'll have to think. Thank you.
Okay. Go ahead.
Shall I?
Falguni. Yes.
Yeah. By the statement that I am the seed of the universe, the students of Gita might, during their reflection, come to a wrong conclusion altogether, in as much as in the outer world the seed lies itself to become the tree. Similarly, the Lord, while creating the world, might have got himself destroyed. To remove this misconception, Krishna says here, none can exist without me, neither the moving nor the unmoving.
So Swamiji has given a beautiful explanation for the second line of this verse, that, if we are, sometimes our logical mind will start, when it comes to examples, when I'm in the 10th grade also, I'll tell the students, don't take the example and shred it into pieces, just take the idea what they are giving and drop that example. No example can be perfect. They said, no, the truth defined is truth defiled. You cannot define a truth, so you just indicative thing. So here when he's saying the seed, some people might have a wrong idea that जब the tree बनता है ना तो seed खत्म हो जाता है, because the same tree seed has become like two different things, and then it has gathered things and all, seed got destroyed. So Bhagavad Gita, hello, I am the imperishable seed. I am eternal seed. It does not get destroyed. That's the idea. He's saying that none can exist without me. That's what it means, that Bhagwan is there all the time.
So, Umaji, even though seed gets destroyed and the tree, it emerges into a tree produces the seed again.
Exactly,
So
yes.
It is manifesting through
Itself.
the tree again, so it's not destroyed.
Perfect. But if you have the wrong idea by some crazy thing, then chalo, he's just saying that second line bhi bol di. If you understood like you did, no problem. Bhagwan probably didn't have to say the second line, but he's just covering every intelligent buddhu medium, ab sabko cover kar diya usme. Yeah.
Not only is the Lord the seed of the universe, but even after its germination and growth, the tree is also sustained again by the self. The ocean is the seed, no doubt, of all waves that arise on the sea's surface. And yet, when all the waves germinate, as it were, and grow up, none of them can stand apart from the source from which they arose. Where there is no ocean, no waves can stand. And whenever there are waves, they cannot sustain themselves except upon the grace of the ocean.
So he's just giving this ocean example, is so beautiful. Hey, if you see that from the ocean, where is the waves coming from? You can say ocean is the seed for the wave, because coming from there. So does that mean that ocean ka kaam khatam ho gaya? No. Ocean sustains it too. Without that, you cannot, like we used to say that you cannot take a wave out of the ocean, bring it to my house and call it a wave. No, it has to be part of the ocean. Same way, we are part of Bhagwan, and Bhagwan, like English में से बोलना चाहिए simple language, Bhagwan cannot divorce us. You know, because he has to be with us no matter what.
The cosmos rises up from the principle of ignorance that seemingly veils the truth. This avidya, ignorance, also exists, drawing its potencies, however delusionary they may be, from the total source of all projections. This ignorance of the self we know is the seed from which all the experienced worlds of the universe have risen up. If the awareness in us, absolute and eternal, were not to illuminate the very ignorance for us, the ignorance produced sighs and sorrows, and the precipitation.
No, perception.
Perception of the plurality will not at all be available for us.
Okay, so this is a little bit technical.
Yeah, very technical.
Okay, so this is what they say in Vedanta. They say, okay, why did this universe come about? It came about because of ignorance. You say, how? That doesn't make any sense. Okay, so now you go back to that famous example of snake and the rope. I hope everybody remembers that. That if there is a rope lying and if there is darkness represents ignorance. I cannot see properly what it is. So then oh my God, it's snake, right? So now the snake is showing on top of the rope only. Like our teacher used to say, तुमको snake वहीं दिखाई देगा जहाँ rope पड़ी हुई है. You cannot see the snake somewhere else, right? That everybody understood. So हम लोग को दुनिया वहीं दिखाई देगी जहाँ भगवान है. You cannot see somewhere else. So that's one point. And the second point is, why are we seeing that snake? It's because of the rope we are seeing the snake. No matter how much delusory it is, the moment you take the rope from there, snake is gone. Now apply this to this example of the world. Wherever we see the world, that's where God is. If you take the God away, world is not there also. Got it? From this, that's the only way to understand is through this example. So what they are trying to say is that जितना भी delusionary thing हो, उसका जो source है ना, वो भगवान ही है. That's what it's saying. And then you can think of the other way also, like some projection is happening. एक पहले जमाने में प्रोजेक्टर होता था. हाँ, तो प्रोजेक्टर से वो प्रोजेक्ट करते थे कुछ सीनरी वगैरह. You can change the projection and all that, but that machine is the one that is supporting everything. The moment that projector pulls everything, no more thing. Whichever example you want to give. Basically, they are trying to say that the ignorance causes this universe, but that ignorance is also supported by Bhagwan only. And the other example I can get, why did he do that? कोई पूछेगा कि बेकार में स्यापा करने की जरूरत क्या थी ये सब, So they will say, it's like a little child, okay? We all have grandkids. A lot of us had to have it. Don't they come to us? Oh, like I'm a 4-year-old. Daddy G, I want to cook pizza for you. Don't we pretend with them? Okay, his mom brought him this pizza cooking thing also, but passionately he will make, and he has to serve me and I have to pretend to eat. He knows. And after that also, if I ask him, I know Daddy G is pretend, but he loves it to do it. So that's what it is. So it is like, okay, Bhagwan said, you want to play? I will give you the field. Go play. And then when you get tired, come back to me. So that's exactly what it is. Ignorance also is supported by Bhagwan.
Thus, just as water is the cause for starting the germination in the seed, and again, it is water alone that can nourish and sustain the tree, even after the tree has expanded itself to its greater dimensions, so too the divine self, which by its magic touch thrills the seed of samsara to germinate and thrive, is itself the nourisher and the sustainer of its dimensions at all times.
It's a beautiful example.
One long sentence.
Yeah, but the example is, this is what he's saying, because it was a long sentence. He's saying, because in this verse first he said, I'm the seed, and then he said, I sustain everything. Without me, it cannot be sustained. So he's saying that you worldly seed को भी ले लो तो you have to put it in the ground, but without water it won't germinate. एकदम dry उसमें डाल के देखो कुछ भी नहीं होएगा. So water उसको causes it to germinate. So Bhagwan causes this world to come, but then water also needs for sustenance. Okay, without water, tree will not grow, not sustain, it will die. Same way Bhagwan started this universe and he sustains it. So that water example is also very... Swamiji has kind of caught from every angle this seed. After this, we should have no confusion. Yeah.
When we are told that the 10 sample pieces of ornaments have all emerged out from the one mass of gold, and when this statement is reinforced by a pertinent codicil that without gold, none of these sample pieces can ever exist by itself, even for a moment, it becomes evidently clear that all of them are nothing but gold. Drawing a parallel, the Lord tells us that that is where the sentence ended, I think. Okay. Drawing a parallel, the Lord tells us that He is the very seed from which the entire multiple universe has risen up. And this partial statement in the second line, that none can exist without me, Lord Cotton can say all the samples of cloth that are manufactured and used in the world have come from me. And it will be only true if Lord Cotton would complete his statement by saying, no sample of cloth can ever exist without me, the cotton essence.
Okay, now Swamiji he has his own way of explaining. I tell you, if we continue, we will get good mastery over English language. That's what I can tell you. We don't have to go to a university. You can keep reading his commentary.
Some of those words are so hard to pronounce, Swamiji.
I know, and I had to look up this word codicil. Codicil means addition. Okay. So he's saying that Bhagwan said that, okay, सब कुछ मेरे से आया है. फिर उन्होंने एक और सेंटेंस बोला, विदाउट मी नथिंग कैन एग्जिस्ट. उसका एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया है. हाँ, और उसका एक्सप्लेनेशन दिया है ये गोल्ड और ऑर्नामेंट के क्या बोलते हैं एग्जाम्पल से. एंड यू नो whether we are women or men, we all know what is ornament, because women like ornament and men have to buy it for them. So this is what it is, that ornaments, they are made up of gold. Now some ornament, or somebody says, you know, I like the ornament, but I don't want gold. Can it work? Say, hello, you know, you can't get rid of gold. Gold is the one supporting your ornament, you know. That's what I want, only the shape, but I don't want gold. It's not possible. That's what he's saying over here, that none can exist without me. And then he gave the example of cotton. He said, cotton में क्या है कि everything is made, cotton का जो कपड़े हैं जो हम पहनते हैं या कोई चद्दर है या कुछ भी है, anything made of cotton, it's Lord Cotton. उसके बिना कुछ नहीं हो सकता. That little ruई जिसको बोलते हैं, that becomes like a lord. And the Lord Cotton is saying, no sample of cloth can ever exist without me, the cotton essence, because every cotton cloth has cotton in it. That's what it means. It's so simple, right? We don't think about it. Very simple. Yeah, that's what he's saying in this. Yes.
Drawing together the various lines of arguments made so far, Krishna now winds up this section of his disclosure in the following 3 verses.
So now that will be the last 3 verses. He's concluding, because remember, go back to the beginning of this chapter. What did Arjuna asked Krishna Bhagwan, can you please tell me where I can see you in this world? Remember, oh alas, Hanta, he started with, kahan se shuru karu main? You know? So, but then out of compassion, उन्होंने इतनी सारी चीजें बोली, he exhausted the whole, and then भगवान भी exhaust थोड़े हो गए, बोले सब बहुत हो गया अभी. मैं तो I'm seed of everybody, okay, and then I'm going to conclude this chapter. अब मुझे थोड़ा आगे भी बढ़ना है. बहुत हो गया. That's what it is. Okay. I think it's a lot of fun to see it in this form with conversation between them. Any other question, comment? Swamiji ने बहुत अच्छे explanation दिए, because I think he want us to understand it completely. That's why he did that. Amazing his commentary was. It was such a joy to go back, and there are big long sentences, but if you have patience to understand, it's really beautiful. Okay, so I'm assuming that we have churned it all, and I'm assuming that Meena ji has some satisfaction of that answer. I'm not sure. Okay. Naresh ji, you have some comment?
Umaji, I mean, is it like, when we say we divide our life into four sections, and that sannyasa, we are supposed to be freeing ourselves of all those vasanas, right? And what if you end up, you haven't really freed yourself? You leave this world with anger or some kind of a negative feelings or something which is not satisfied. Is that what goes back into that seed, and we are emerging?
Yes, something like that. But don't, true. What you said is true, but don't look at it very negatively. This is how you have to look at it. Because Krishna Bhagwan ne chapter 6 mein Arjun ko bola, Name Bhakta Pranashyati, that my devotees never perish. So we got to hold on to Krishna Bhagwan's promises. Hey, we might have difficulties and this and that, but we are on the right path and we are going in the ascending order, right? We are not, you don't want to regress in any, even in the world, it's like we don't want to regress in something. So by reading Bhagavad Gita, by trying to purify our mind, we are better than what we were yesterday. That's what counts. So of course, if we get moksha and this, that will be the best. But if you not, you will be in a better situation, and then we may not even have to come back on this earth. On one hand, we find a lot of beautiful things, but we know that on earth, nobody's life is easy. It's a lot of, but there are other lokas which don't have all these same problems and all that. But even if you come back on earth, Bhagwan said you will be born in a family which has a lot of means, so that you don't have to struggle for money. You can focus on the spiritual things, or in a yogi's, if you have done a lot of punya karma, thoda sa kuch reh gaya hai, vasanas, you will be born in a very good family, which you will connect to spirituality right from the beginning. So he has given a lot of hope to us. So now we may not be exhausting all our vasanas, but if we have done part of it, that's a very good thing. That's what it is. But that's true.
It could be good vasanas too. It's not negative. It's some positive things.
Yes, and a lot of people come on the earth to do positive. A lot of saints and sages, they are born to guide other people. They chose to come to help other people. So absolutely. Not everything is negative on this earth also. And seeing negative, positive is on our own eyes, how we see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Person. Thank you.
Okay. All right, then I'll close Bhagavad Gita here. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tva sarva papebhya mokshayishyami ma shuchaha. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.